Hi, you're listening to It Happened to Me, a rare disease and medical challenges podcast. The mission of our podcast is to support you, our listeners, and to create community as you confront the toughest challenges in life. All of us will experience health hardships. The real question is how we adapt. That's the focus of It Happened to Me, which wants to help you overcome limitations and live a full and satisfying life. Drawing on their own health challenges, co-hosts Kathy Gildenhorn and Beth Glassman interview guests who share stories and research to help you succeed in the face of difficult health obstacles. It happened to me. I'm not alone.
I'm so tired of standing in the other woman's shoes.
Today's episode is a powerful story of resilience, creativity, and determination in the face of serious health challenges. We're honored to welcome Carolyn Routh, an award-winning musician, entrepreneur, and frontwoman of the acclaimed bluegrass band Nu-Blu. Carolyn has spent more than 2 decades on the road, released multiple Billboard Top 10 albums, and been featured on TV shows like Sunday Morning, all well-known type 1 diabetes, and
flying to the fire with no shame. I wish I knew how not to be that flame. But it's worth, I'm sorry for the pain I'm causing you.
and return
girls like
to
me
the stage
fall in love
with
too.
renewed sense of
I'm so
purpose.
tired of standing
In this
the other
conversation,
woman's shoes.
We'll explore what it's
Singing
like
the other
to live with
woman's
chronic illness in a high-demanding career, how it became part of her healing, and what to do when the unexpected happens. Carolyn, it's a pleasure to have you on It Happened to Me. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. Well, Carolyn, let's start at the beginning. Can you share when you first were diagnosed with type 1 diabetes and what that moment was like for you?
I'm not proud of loving a man who isn't mine.
I was 1977.
Oh my goodness.
I was faced
But
with
it's
starting
worth, I'm
seventh grade.
sorry for the pain I'm causing you.
And I was diagnosed. My parents took me to the doctor because that whole summer I had just been struggling.
I'm
I
so
hardly
tired of
energy to do
standing
anything.
in the other
I had the
woman's
classic
shoes.
symptoms of drinking a lot, just can't go to drink, having to use the bathroom a lot. And so they took me to the doctor and I was diagnosed with
Just
type 1
once I'd
diabetes.
like to
I
find
spent a
myself
week at UNC Hospital
in
here in
your
North Carolina
shoes.
in pediatrics, and they taught me about the disease and got me started managing it, all that fun stuff that you learn when you're in the hospital. But what really I remember the most is that when I was first told, and my parents took me back home for a little while before we went to the hospital, and it was like, well, you can never have sugar again. You're telling an 11-year-old kid you can never have sugar again for the rest of your life. And I was a little shocked because I have a really raging sweet tooth. And at that point, that's the only thing I really knew about it. You would hear people talk about, well, I got sugar. That's how they described it around here. Was diabetes. Well, I got sugar, which is kind of the opposite of what
it is.
So I always thought that was kind of strange. Yeah, it was a real shock to my system, and just mentally was it was just a whole new ball game for life, especially when I first started learning about it and what it would entail.
Right. Now, how did learning to manage type 1 diabetes shape your life so early on, as we're starting to get into, before your career really took off? I mean, it ends up that this is way before your career, but do you think the diagnosis, the challenges you face, force you to want to put your energy into something else that was more a passion?
Always had a passion for music. From the time I was really young, that was something that I just always wanted to do. I loved music. I loved performing. I loved being on stage. That's just where I felt really comfortable and what I wanted to do with my life. And I guess even with the diabetes, I never once thought you can't do that now. I always realized that there was nothing that diabetes was going to stop me from doing. It would just be a matter of
managing your life differently.
Of handling it and being very aware. of everything that was going on. I think what
I
this
love
may be
that
jumping
can
ahead.
attitude. I
Well,
love
I don't know if it's can do as much as it's hard head, but
Good for
either
you.
way, it has served me well. I think again, you just as a kid, especially, I didn't think about so much what I couldn't do. And there were times that I did take advantage of it a little bit, like when I wanted to step away from a class in school, my blood sugar was low, and I called my dad, and he would have to bring me something. And I think all kids do that. You know,
Yeah.
you take advantage when you can, as long as you're not hurting anybody. I think it's okay. But even in high school, when I was doing a lot of music programs and everything, the biggest thing about managing diabetes and performance is people don't realize, I don't think, how much emotional situations, and whether it's excitement or sadness, affect your glucose levels.
That's
You
a
can
remarkable
be in
statement.
perfect
Yeah.
range, but
Huh.
anything, if you get really upset, if you get really excited and the adrenaline kicks in, it can directly affect your glucose levels and how much exercise you've had, not just today, but yesterday. The
Wow.
exercise you get today will still affect you tomorrow.
That's really remarkable. I
So,
had absolutely no
yeah,
No
idea.
idea. Me too.
Type
different.
1 diabetes is such a major challenge.
It is.
And you started at such a young age thinking about what you're consuming. And now you're talking about even your emotional energy is going to feed
Absolutely.
into your well being. Seems almost overwhelming, Carolyn, I have to say. The other thing that I am surprised to learn, I think all of our listening audience has heard of diabetes, even type 1, which is, of course, the more serious. They're both serious, but this is the hardcore diabetes. But that strokes would accompany diabetes. Can you talk about that? I had really, until meeting you, I did not know that there was a correlation.
Well, actually, nobody ever really, said anything to me about that the whole time
Really?
during my
Oh,
diabetes. That was, I mean, I'd always heard kidney problems, and
uh-huh.
because of circulatory problems, you have to be really careful with your fingers and your toes to not get too
Yes.
cold. And, getting infections is easier. And me, even if I get a little nick or a paper cut, it takes me a little longer to heal than it might
Huh.
take someone that doesn't have diabetes. So it's all
I
kinds of
see.
little things. And honestly, it's been challenging, but I've never really dwelt on that much. It's just kind of life. But
Uh-huh.
my strokes were not caused by diabetes.
Oh,
They had
Oh,
no relation to diabetes. They came directly from birth control pills.
kidding.
oh my
No,
goodness.
you
Wow.
always hear that. You always hear the little
Yes,
warnings, may cause this, may cause that. And what does everybody think? Not me.
Yeah, not me.
Not going to
yes.
happen to me. Guess what? They weren't lying when they put those little disclaimers on their
Oh
instructions.
my goodness.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
Carolyn, certainly you have been living with diabetes, as you said, since a young child, but then you
Mhm.
started having strokes and you've had
Yeah.
multiple strokes. So
Mhm.
what can you tell us about what it's like, both physically and emotionally, to deal with a stroke in the early
Um,
weeks? What is that like for you?
my strokes it started as headaches.
I see.
I went on the birth control pills, and within, let's see, August, September, by October, the beginning of October, mid-October, I was having severe, debilitating headaches. And
Ah,
they were just in one side of my head, and they would move. They would move, they would be here, and just, it was horrible. Went to the doctor, they were going to send me to a headache clinic. They thought it was migraines. Ended up hospitalized before that. They did all the MRIs, said they were clear. A week later, on Thanksgiving morning, 2003, at an ER, level 1 trauma center ER in North Carolina, with a team of neurologists standing over me. Couldn't have happened at a better time or a better place if it was going to.
really?
Wow.
Yep, I started seizing. I had two strokes, and they separated
Oh,
as two because it was two separate places in my brain.
It takes
Synapses.
the doctors to connect the strokes with the birth control.
Well, as soon as they actually talked to me and knew, they were
Really?
able.
They knew
This
right away.
Well, I don't know if you heard, several years ago during all this, there was a company called, I'm not going to say the parent company because I'm always confused as to which company it was. There's two companies that were making different forms of this pill. So I'm not going to call out the conglomerate because I don't
Right.
want to get in trouble. Birth control pills were labeled as Yaz and Yasmin.
Uh-huh.
Boy, Yasmin's one that I've heard of. I know.
Yasmin
Yes.
is the one I was taking. And at that time, they were giving them out. They had different formulations of them. One of them you would take and it would help with skin breakouts. So you didn't have acne anymore. And
I
another
see.
one was worked for this or worked for that, along with the birth control. And those
Oh,
were marketed for quite some time until they started causing major problems. And they
oh.
pulled them off the market. FDA pulled them off the market. Well, some of us had the major problems before they pulled them off.
I
It was a pretty big deal back then. I had those Thanksgiving morning is when I had the strokes. They kept me knocked out for like the whole weekend. I think I woke back
Oh.
up on Sunday night or maybe early Monday. That time is really fuzzy to me.
Is there any way of knowing if having type 1 diabetes at all contributed to your stroke risk on the birth control?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. I don't want to say so because of what was listed on the medical reports and everything
Right.
Uh-huh.
back. Of course, I've got diabetes was all in all the reports, but the only thing that they attributed the strokes to was just
Yeah.
the pills. That's what actually caused it. Now, certainly the diabetes entered into the recovery process
Mm-hmm.
because here's just one more thing that because of the hormones and the emotions and everything that are just going to make the diabetes go wild
Oh,
place.
I
And
see.
at that time, they told me I had a clot in the top of my brain about this long
Oh.
and the top of my
Oh.
head right here. So the type of strokes that I had were called deep vein thrombosis, and it was a clot about the length of my finger right here in the top of my head. And the stroke was actually on the left side, so it affected the right side of my body. I lost my speech, which was the first thing that went
Oh.
before I went to the hospital, and I lost the use of my right side.
Oh
So
my
I had
goodness.
quite a bit of recovery to do.
So, speaking of recovery, it's during your recovery that you taught yourself how to play bass. And how did music become a part of your healing process?
Well, we started Nu-Blu in August of 2003 is when my husband and I formed the band Nu-Blu. So we were already doing some stuff, learning music, playing some places, and then I had my strokes in November. And all of us at that point kind of wondered whether we would have a band
Yes.
after I recovered from this because I lost my
Yes.
right side. I wasn't playing an instrument at that time, but I was having to relearn to walk. I couldn't write. I had to learn all of
Mm.
that again, just how to eat, how to feed myself, everything I had to learn how
Oh
to
my
do.
goodness.
I got my voice back first. That was the first thing that
Oh,
came back.
good.
That was the thing that I was most worried about because singing is my passion in life. My voice came back first, thankfully. And then, you're rolling over these things in your brain about how well, if I can't walk, maybe, they can get me on stage or whatever, so maybe I can still sing. And
Oh.
in the process of the occupational therapy on my hand, that's when my husband got the bright idea of, hey, you can learn to play bass because it's kind of a big neck. It's a large neck instrument, so it's easier to hold on to. And, it's big. I can sort of lean on it if I need to.
Oh my
And it
goodness.
was it was really good working of my fingers to pull the strings. And it was also
Wow.
strength training because, bass strings are big. They can be not strenuous, but they're a little bit harder to pull than lighter stringed instruments. So I started learning to play bass and ended up being the bass player for the band. And I
Oh
can't
my
imagine
goodness.
not doing it now. But it
Wow.
was,
Now,
Isn't
how
that
long did it
wonderful?
take you, though, to get your right side back? Because you seem so
well,
together.
really, before I left the hospital, I was in the hospital a full week. By the time I left the hospital, I wasn't going out on any physical therapy. I was able to walk.
Wow.
I had to walk very slowly. I had to be really careful, had to be aware of every step that I took, but I wasn't using a walker. I wasn't using a cane, no aids to walk. I was actually able to walk. In fact, when I left the hospital, they had told me things I was just saying. You won't be able to brush your teeth. You won't be able to tie your shoes. You won't be able to button or snap, your clothes. And before I left the hospital, I did every one of those things to get myself
Oh my
dressed and ready to
goodness.
go. It took
Oh.
me what seemed like forever, but
Wow.
that's what I did because I'm that hard-headed. So
That
occupational therapy, when I was having, they do all this strength training with my hands. And when I left, I was supposed to go twice a week for 6 or 8 weeks. I ended up going to 3 appointments because after 3 appointments, I already had as much dexterity in my right hand as I had in my unaffected left hand. And
Unbelievable.
my right hand
Unbelievable.
strength was, my strength in my right hand was more than my left hand. I had 67 pounds of strength pressure in my right hand when I
Wow.
went to
Wow.
occupational therapy. So, it was an act of determination is what it was.
Yes.
And
Yeah, it
I
was.
I had a lot of
I
gifts.
really am in awe of you. I'm in awe. So your recovery in the hospital, by the time you leave, you have exceeded expectations that they
Yeah.
set for you. They
Yeah.
did not think you would be where you were, but you must have been wondering, can I get back on stage and do what I used to do?
I did.
Uh-huh.
There was a lot of wondering for a long time,
Yes.
even learning to walk
Yes.
again. Am I always going to be doing this little shuffle step, or am I
Uh-huh.
actually going to be able to walk and how I was walking before that? And one of the things that I laugh about now, it wasn't funny at the time. Well, it was actually funny by the time it happened. I had gotten lots of emails from all kinds of people, well wishes, we're praying for you. And I had asked my family, please don't, just leave these. I want to answer these myself when I get home. So I'm sitting
Oh,
down and I didn't type to begin with. So I didn't lose any
right.
typing skills. I'm a hunt and pecker. But I'm
Yeah.
sitting there and I'm having to look at my fingers. I'm having to concentrate because my right hand's just not back yet. So I have to really focus on everything I do. I can't do anything naturally. I have to concentrate on it. And I'm sitting there and I'll write out this sentence and I'll get this all out. This is what I want to say to this person. And I look up and there's no spaces in the sentence. All the words just run together, all the
Yeah.
letters. And with the first time that happened, that was probably the first humor that I had found in any of this. I just remember sitting there and busting out laughing because the first thing that I thought is, there are no spaces. There are no spaces in my head anymore. I have no spaces.
Oh,
I just never remember to put a space. So there's still instances like that. And on stage, that can be a real challenge for me. Physically, my hands work okay, but mentally, my memory, shh, don't tell my husband, is not what
yes.
it used to be.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's songs, for example, I've played the exact same songs, some of them maybe 1,000 times now, on
Right.
1,000 different stages. And I'll be up there playing a song and I'll just totally forget what I'm playing. And it
Wow.
takes me a minute to recover from that and go
Yeah.
back. Which words to songs, a lot of people talk about forgetting words. It's terrible to
Yeah.
forget the words to the songs that you wrote, but it does
Yes.
happen.
Yes.
And I'm very embarrassed sometimes. We're playing a big show and all of a sudden I just go wonky on the bass and don't know what I'm doing. And I just can't, I literally can't help it. Something's
Right.
just
Of
not
course not.
firing and connecting there.
Have you
Overall,
thought
it's not
about
a
a
problem.
teleprompter to help
Well, I
just
can't
as a
really do
crutch?
that. I can't really do that playing so much because I'm playing and singing bass is challenging for some people. And it always felt natural to me before, but now I have to either know the words to the song like very well, or I have
Yeah.
to know the bass line very well before I put them together and
Right.
can multitask to do that together.
Yes.
So it's a process for me, but it
Yes.
works. It works.
I'm sort of wondering, how do you view your body at this point in time for betraying you, if you can understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't really. I just blame it all on the birth control pills. I
Okay. Okay.
really think my body
Okay.
did great coming
Okay.
back and answering the call, for
Yeah.
lack of a better way to say it, when I was at the point that I was really pushing it and
Yeah.
trying to build the strength back and get back to some form of normal.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's been so long now, most people, unless I told them about the strokes, they would never realize it. I just seem to babble occasionally. And, sometimes my words get away from me and I know what I want to say. And then
Right.
my mind just kind of drifts somewhere else. And I have trouble. I'm misguided on putting that sentence together. That's really embarrassing sometimes too, because sometimes I just want to say, I had a stroke. Don't blame me. I had a stroke.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
But I hate to say it,
those of us, Kathy and I, in our age group, this happens to us and we haven't had a stroke. Welcome to the human race.
Really.
Shouldn't speak for you, but it
But
happens.
it's true.
I mean,
But
we in your moments, and Kathy and I can be sitting there and you'll say, you know what I mean. And she'll say, yeah, I know.
We know.
We can't quite remember it. Welcome to humanity, Carolyn. Each of us has this as we get a little older, as we grow more mature.
Yes.
And we work really hard at looking totally normal and intelligent women that we are.
That's it.
More kudos to you, Carolyn. I just applaud you. I really do.
But I want to go back to your recovery for a second.
Okay.
And what did that teach you about patience? Because that's something that's especially hard for high achieving people like you. Definitely, Miss Determination, obviously are.
I still have no patience. I never have. And that might have been, that probably attributed to the recovery like it did too, because I have no patience. I want everything yesterday. I inherited that from my dad, but I want everything when I want it. And so recovery couldn't go fast enough for me. And that's why I continually was overdoing with the therapy. I was just making myself function, things that they said I couldn't do. I was making myself function just normally. Now, yeah, I did some of the little exercises and all that they wanted me to do because that made sense. But I don't think it was the exercises that helped me recover the quickest. I think it was predominantly because I just refused not to live my life.
Yeah, it was your determination.
Your
question about it.
positive attitude.
And your inability to accept anything less.
I just want what I want.
Oh.
So sometimes that has not served me well in life, but other
Well,
times
when it comes to Nu-Blu, it has certainly served you. You've had an extraordinary 20-year run. How did your health challenges change the way you approached touring, recording, and performing?
Yeah, that's not a huge challenge. Well, just because I don't look at things as challenges in the sense of they're going to stop me from doing something. But it does make a difference because of the blood glucose levels, like I was talking about before.
Right.
You know, you get this adrenaline rush when you're going on stage, and it doesn't matter if your glucose levels have been perfect all day and you can kind of predict where they're going to go. When that adrenaline kicks in, and depending on what happens on stage and how everything's going, sometimes I have drops on stage and that little alarm goes off because that phone is always with me on stage because
And you do when the alarm goes off on stage.
I just have to, usually I'll have something on stage with me. And if I check the numbers and the numbers
juice,
aren't,
orange juice? Do you have a
I prefer sweet tea. Well, usually I just have a cup or something. And depending on the show, I might have something sitting right off stage. I do that a lot of times. And so the guys will just improv some stuff, or usually, you know, if you explain to the audience, hey, we're having a moment, we're just going to do this now and wait till she gets back. People are very, very understanding when they know that it's diabetes. And that's why I have a Dexcom continuous blood glucose monitor that I have on my side attached all the time. And that's why I always have my phone on stage, because I monitor it on my phone.
And how honest are you with the fans? They know, expect everything that's going on?
Well, if there's an issue, yeah, we tell them. I mean, you know, there's nothing to be ashamed of. It happens.
Right, at all.
It might could encourage somebody else, you know, with whatever they're doing. I don't hold back with the diabetes. I'm on an insulin pump. I don't hide my insulin pump. I don't try to hide it. I mean, I'll stick it down in clothes where it's comfortable, obviously, and so clothes look right when I go on stage, but I don't try to hide anything. I mean, I'll talk to anybody about it.
And it might encourage other people.
I think so.
To find, you know, it may be a detour. The challenge may be a detour, but it doesn't act as a stop and a prevention from what you want to do. And I think that's a beautiful message.
Well, another thing that we have that's better for me is we travel in a tour bus, which is really nice because then I've got the refrigerator. I can put my insulin in the refrigerator. Don't have to worry about it staying cool. I've got all the
Mm-hmm.
food, snacks that I need on the bus that I can eat. It makes it a lot better for me. It's streamlined. I don't have to think about that. If we're having to fly somewhere, there's that whole there's that whole issue with flying. That's probably
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest challenges because I can't take my pump through the metal detectors through the security. So I have to have a
Really?
pat down. I have to opt out. I have to have a pat down
Uh-huh.
every time I fly. And
Uh-huh.
I've never had a problem with them. There was one place I had a problem with, and that was at Heathrow in London, and it was horrible.
No.
Getting the whole pat down and everything. I'm fine with that. Everybody's always very respectful. It just takes time out.
Yes.
It's
Hmm.
just one
Yes.
more thing, one more step you have to do in
Yeah.
order to get through an airport. So that I prefer traveling on the bus. I don't have to worry about
Uh-huh.
anything when I'm on the bus.
Yes.
That can be challenging. Traveling can be challenging.
I was going to ask you about accommodations that you had to make, and that is a big one. I know that I do some public speaking, and with being visually impaired, I memorize my speeches. I'm wondering if there are any other sorts of accommodations you've made other than your travel. Do you sit more often, or other things that you might need to do?
Not anything like that physical. I have had
Uh-huh.
not just touring, but there have been times when we've been out going out to eat, and for
Uh-huh.
whatever reason I lose a set because I my insulin pump is through a tube and it goes into me through like a set. It's almost like it's like an IV catheter. It
Uh-huh.
sets with a needle, but then the needle comes out, and so you're just left with this little plastic tube. That's
Hmm.
how I get
Uh-huh.
my insulin. And if that dislodges or comes out, I get no insulin. And if I get no insulin, it takes a very, very short amount of time for me to get in trouble really quick with a
I
high blood
see.
glucose
Wow.
level. So I have to keep extra things with me so that if I'm somewhere and it comes out and I can change it really quick. But that's not something you can sit at a table in a restaurant or that you can just do out in public. So I've either got to have like the bus I can go to if it's there, but if the bus isn't there, I may have to go in a bathroom
Hmm.
or a
Uh-huh.
dressing room, whatever's available to be able to change that. And sometimes there's not a real convenient place to do
To
that.
do that.
And
Wow.
that's been frustrating before because I don't like having to go in a bathroom, public restroom, and
Uh-huh.
start messing with medical stuff. And
Yes,
then
I
you've got,
understand.
people freak out if they see it. That can be challenging sometimes.
So, switching gears, can you tell us about your future albums that are coming up, or what's new coming along in your career?
Starting work on a new album right now, and I'm so excited about it. We've got some of the best
Oh,
music in the whole world coming out.
yes.
I've loved every album we've ever done. I love the music. We spend a lot of time picking out songs and trying to tailor the whole project so that each song works with the other song. So it's like this common theme or a common thread runs through everything. We like it to be a journey. We like our shows to be a journey. We like to take people
Oh,
through the highs and the lows and the happy and the sad. And so every album that comes out at any point in time, if you ask me which album I like the best, it's always going to be the one that's out now. It's always going to be the new one.
that's so
That's
great.
nice.
That's where the excitement's at right now because I love listening to new music. I love getting new music. I love working on it. I love learning it. So we just now, in fact, we haven't even put in stone the exact songs that are going to be on this one because we've got so much good stuff to pick from. That happens
Mm.
every album. We get over
Great.
100 submissions. We get
Oh,
over
wow.
100 submissions from writers every time we do an album. And I keep all of them. And sometimes we'll go back and pull one from a past pitch for something new. That's one of the hardest things as a musician in recording is having to turn writers down when they send you something that is so good and that you love, but you can't put it all on one project. So you have to pick and choose and you have to pick what's right at that particular time. So that's why I save all of it.
Yes,
Because sometimes
Wow.
if
yes.
it's
That's
wrong, I get
wonderful.
to go back and pull it and do it. Yeah, we're starting work right now on a new one, and it is so exciting. Some of the music that's on it, I love story songs. There's going to be a lot of story songs on this one. Some of them are actually true.
Do you know what it's
Oh,
going to be called?
Actually, I do, and if I tell you right now, my publicist will kill me.
So
Yeah, we
cool.
kind of hold all that so that you get
Yeah,
everything together and
Right.
sure.
you pull the trigger when it's time to pull the trigger.
Big
And that's
reveal.
the biggest
Big
bang.
reveal. I got it.
Yeah,
I got it.
yeah.
I want to go back to your fans and your honesty with your fans. And I'm just wondering if that was from day one of this process or that was something that evolved over time and you saw that you needed to do this on stage. What is
That's
it?
always been me.
Always,
Yeah,
always. What
that's
would
just
you
always been me.
what would you advise members of our audience that are facing challenges when it comes to honesty for themselves with not always a fan base, but maybe just those they work with or those they care about or love? How do you weigh the honesty and the confidence?
It's a very good question because, everybody has their own hangups, for lack of a better word, in life. There's something I'm sure about everybody that they wish they could change or they wish that were different or they're embarrassed by, whether it's body type or, maybe skeletons in the closet, whatever there is. And I think that has to really be a personal decision as to what makes you comfortable, what makes you feel comfortable in your own skin.
So you're
And
be honest with yourself
I
and
am. Yeah,
evaluating.
be honest with yourself first. Set your own
Mm,
limits. You
mm,
need to know what your limits are and live inside them. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't try to expand your limits when you're ready to. I think that's always a good thing. But sometimes you got to step a little pinky toe out first before you can jump.
That
And
makes sense.
with me, that's just how I've always been. I grew up in a small town. Family owned a restaurant here in town that was very popular. I grew up in the back room of the restaurant because that's
mm,
where the family was.
mm,
And so I didn't deal, I mean, I had friends at school and friends at church that were my age, but I didn't get to see them a lot outside of those activities because my family was here at this restaurant working. So a
mm,
lot of my childhood was growing up around adults.
mm.
That those were the people that I dealt with on a regular basis that I talked to. And I think it I think it may have just been something with maybe a maturity level. I just learned to be comfortable. I mean, when you're a kid, you'll tell anything.
Yeah.
Once you're in that mindset and you tell it, but then you're accepted and people don't look down at you and they don't make comments. Now, with people wanting to share things or feeling comfortable sharing things, I think it's a lot easier than it was then because all of these preconceptions that people used to have about things like diabetes or cancer or all these other things that, oh, well, if I get near this person, will I catch it? Am I going to catch
Mm,
this if I get near them?
mm,
I don't want to
mm,
touch that.
Right.
And
mhm.
people understand things more now. We've come so far with
Yeah,
understanding and with sharing these things and the explanations, and people aren't scared of them anymore. And so they're
yeah.
not as quick to be judgmental or to possibly look down on somebody that has a condition or an issue. So I think
Very true.
in a lot of ways, it's easier now, but
Hmm.
people still
But
have
in so many
reservations.
ways, we all have issues, one way or the
Yes.
other.
Absolutely.
Everybody. I mean, nobody's just,
Absolutely.
perfect. I mean, it just doesn't exist.
And I'm so thankful for that.
Well, I want to ask you about your husband, Daniel, because you and your husband work together creatively and as entrepreneurs. And how did navigating serious health issues affect your partnership?
Well, Daniel and I started out playing music together.
Hmm.
I had a contemporary Christian band at the time, and he came on as a bass player, and we got to be good friends. And we got to be best friends. We were best friends before
Oh.
we undated, as I say. I call it undating because we never really dated. We just hung out all the time with the music and working on stuff. And I don't know where we turned the corner of going from playing music together and being best friends to being married. It just kind of happened. And I don't know where that line was, but he's always been very, very, very supportive of me and
Oh.
everything I've done. He was right there with me the whole time. When I had my strokes, he was working at Walmart then as a
Mm.
department manager. And he would get up early in the morning. He would go to work. He would work his full day at Walmart. He would come to the hospital. He would
Mm,
stay at the hospital with me, usually most of the night, sitting in the room
Oh,
mm,
because especially in those early days, I mean, I was still kind of freaked out over the whole
yes.
thing. And
Oh,
so
I'm sure.
my body's just reeling. I can't do anything. And if I got this little inkling of a headache, I'm just panicking and freaking out because I know it's
Sure.
going to happen again. And he was right there for the whole thing. When I came home,
Oh,
because of the diabetes, he had to wake me up every 3 or 4 hours through the
oh,
night so that I could get up. I didn't have my blood, continuous blood glucose monitoring system then. So
uh-huh.
I was still operating off finger pricks. So I
Mm.
had to wake up every 4 hours to check my
Test
levels
yourself.
and
Oh
make sure
boy.
because everything was in such a state of disarray then. I was metabolizing all the medication as the doctors told me like a lab rat because
Oh
Yeah.
my
my
body was
goodness.
fighting to try to recover. So my
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
metabolism was just really high. And he's the one, he had to go to work early the next morning and forgot home, but he would set an alarm. He'd wake up every 4 hours, come and check my blood glucose, and then go back to sleep.
Huh.
So he really went
Oh,
above and beyond, and all that hard headed with the recovery and, the physical therapy and all. I have to give part of the credit to him because he was
oh,
pushing me. I mean, it was always tough love with him. You can
Oh,
do this. You can, we do this. You can do this. So it
so
was
he was
twofold.
as
It was sort
much
of a
a
team
partner
effort. Oh
in the
yeah.
as in
Oh yeah.
anything else. That's wonderful.
Absolutely. And we started the band in 2003, but we had just started the band in September before I had my strokes in November.
oh,
So this was
Wow.
really new. This was Nu-Blu. Now we'd already been playing music together before that, but Nu-Blu, we had just started. And he was there for me the whole time. The whole
oh.
time
You
he
are
was right
so
there.
lucky.
So yeah.
You're
Didn't get
so
married until
lucky to have,
'06.
you
Yeah.
know, when we talk to people on the podcast who have had an experience with a illness, they talk about their support system. And that is something that is so crucially important. You, of course, at the end of the day, you have to have the courage within yourself to propel yourself, but you also need that support system. And it sounds like your husband was there, but it
He
also
was.
sounds like you have a larger support system, maybe with the band, or do you have other people that are there as your support system?
Well, my two sons, which they were very young at the time, they were
Oh.
they were kids. They were kids.
Yes.
They were mama's boys in a good way, in the best
Did
way.
they
Oh,
understand what was happening to their mom?
I'm not sure if they completely understood the mechanics of it. They just knew that things weren't right and that,
uh-huh.
mama had to have some allowances made at this point. But my parents live right next door to me.
My goodness.
They were hugely helpful in helping out with the kids. And there were a lot of nights that I was having bad nights that the kids went next door and stayed. Daniel would stay down here and sleep on the couch to keep an eye on me. There was that support too. I saw my
Oh,
grandmother at that time. She lives on the other side of my parents. We have a compound.
oh my goodness.
Unbelievable. You sure do.
We have a
Oh, this is
compound,
so
so
great.
we're all right here in a row. So I kind of had everybody, and
You really did.
Your
I had
restaurant
people.
moved to your
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
I had people literally around the world praying for me. And that's where a lot of the emails and things came in. I had hundreds of emails to answer when I came home. I was really fortunate in having that support base. And I know a lot of people don't have that. And my heart goes out to them if they don't, because that's what keeps the light burning some days when you're starting to feel down.
You make it sound very easy, and it's not. It's not. It's as you
Yeah.
went through a very challenging time, but it sounds between your husband and your family and your own sense of courage. I
Mhm.
wondered if you could give some advice to people listening who are dealing with chronic illness. What would you tell them?
First and foremost, don't ever give up because
Uh,
you've got more strength and more willpower probably than you're giving yourself credit for having,
Mm.
especially if you're in that place in life, especially when it's new or when you're just learning the ropes on it. It can be very discouraging.
uh,
There's moments you just want to go put your face in a pillow somewhere and just cry for no reason at
yep,
all. And
Right.
yep.
sometimes I think a good cry for no reason at all is one of the best things you can do. Sometimes I
Mm-hmm.
just
Mhm.
think you need to get all those emotions out and just let them
Uh-huh.
breathe. So I think that's something that I encourage everybody to try to do, to try their
Mm-hmm.
best to strive for that. The other thing that happened to me is I was the world's worst. When I was feeling down, when I got mad about something prior to my
Mm-hmm.
strokes, one of my favorite lines was, I hate my life. Hate my life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how
Mm-hmm.
many times I've said, I hate my life when something's going
Uh-huh.
bad.
Yeah.
And when I almost lost my life, I realized I do not
Mm-hmm.
hate my life. And I've
Mm-hmm.
never said that again. Since
Uh-huh.
Wow.
that time, I've never said I hate my life again. Now, I might hate the circumstance I'm having to face,
Right.
but I try not to even use the word hate at all now. If I say I hate this circumstance or I hate where this is going, it's really, really bad. It's
Uh-huh.
really bad
Uh-huh.
because I try not to use that word. But that's something else, appreciate your life. No matter where you're at or what's going on, it can always get worse and it can absolutely get better. Now, it might not be the huge leap all at one time like you want it to be, but just stay on the path and stay focused.
And be
Appreciate the little
patient.
things. Yeah,
Gotta be
appreciate the
patient when it
joys.
comes to that.
And
Yeah.
one of my big things is now find your happy.
Oh, I
Oh.
Find
love
your
that.
happy. Life is too short. Find your happy. It may be something totally insane. It may be sitting down and watching a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Uh-huh.
Whatever, flowers outside. I don't care what it is. It can be something totally
Uh-huh.
ridiculous. Find your happy. Find something that brings you joy that
Mm.
you can feel, even if it's just one moment with you. You can feel those little moments at, one at a time with something that makes you happy. And
Oh,
that goes further than you would think.
Carolyn,
Carolyn,
this
this
is
has been so
beautiful.
uplifting.
It's so,
This has
you are
really been
amazing.
an upper. This has just been an upper.
Thank you.
Thank
Oh,
you, Carolyn, for your honesty, your music, and your willingness to share such an important and motivating story. Your journey is a reminder that survival isn't the end of the story. Sometimes it's just the beginning of what you're saying, an entirely new chapter. Thank you for being a guest on It Happened to Me. And I'd like to tell our audience to check out the Carolyn's music. After our show outro, you'll hear Carolyn. And in the notes, we'll have links to Carolyn has a TV. Is it a network or a show?
It's a syndicated show.
Syndicated show.
Yeah.
We'll have links to that. We'll have links to the various resources or support that she has found helpful. And just something, check out Carolyn's music after the outro and check out the show notes. And Carolyn, again, thank you and such good luck to you and how inspiring.
Thank you. You guys are great. I have enjoyed this so much.
you have lifted my day. Just talking with you, you've made my day, Carolyn.
Well,
Ditto,
thank
ditto,
you.
ditto, ditto.
Thank you.
Dear darling, it's me, Jolene. I know this letter won't wipe my conscience clean. I'm not asking for forgiveness or even sympathy. There's just one thing I wanted you to hear from me. Woman to woman, maybe you can understand. I wish to God I didn't love that man. For what it's worth, I'm sorry for the pain I'm causing you. Sometimes even girls like me fall in love too. I'm so tired of standing in the other woman's shoes, singing the other woman's blues. This ain't the first time I've been here. I wish it wasn't so, but it's painfully clear. Guess there's just something about me that makes a man turn my way whenever he's not free. Just like a moth, he'll fly into the fire with no shame. I wish I knew how not to be that flame. For what it's worth, I'm sorry for the pain I'm causing you. Sometimes even girls like me fall in love too. I'm so tired of standing in the other woman's shoes, singing the other woman's blues. Each night I dream that he is all my own. It's my only comfort as I go to sleep alone. His love for neither one of us is true, but at least he always comes home to you. I'm not proud of loving a man who isn't mine. My love is stronger than my pride. For what it's worth, I'm sorry for the pain I'm causing you. Sometimes even girls like me fall in love too. I'm so tired of standing in the other woman's shoes, singing the other woman's blues. Just once I'd like to find myself standing in your shoes, singing the other woman's blues.
Thank you for listening to this episode of It Happened to Me. We encourage you to learn more at ithappenedtomepod.com. Please use the contact form on our website to submit your guest suggestions, comments, questions, ideas, and feedback for the show. You can also email us directly at ithappenedtomepod@gmail.com. We would really appreciate it if you can leave us a 5-star rating and review on your podcast app like Apple or Spotify. This helps others in the rare disease and medical challenge community find us. It Happened to Me is created and hosted by Kathy Gillenhorn and Beth Glassman. I'm Keir Deneen from DNA Today, and I serve as our executive producer and marketing lead. Amanda Andrioli is our associate producer. Ashlyn Anokian is our graphic designer. And remember, it happened to me. I'm not alone, and neither are you.